Some confessions are meant to heal. Mine destroyed everything. I thought admitting the truth about my betrayal would ease the weight crushing my chest. But the moment the words left my mouth, I realized nothing would ever be the same again. His eyes didn't flare with rage. His voice didn't rise in anger. What he did instead shattered me in ways I could never have prepared for. For years, my life looked perfect from the outside. A cozy suburban home with white shutters, a husband who worked hard to provide for us, and a routine that gave the illusion of stability. I was the woman who baked cookies for neighborhood gatherings, sent cheerful holiday cards, and smiled through every family photo. Yet beneath that flawless surface, shadows lingered. My husband, Daniel, was steady and predictable. He valued routine above everything. Up at 6, at work by 8, home by 7, dinner at the table. He never forgot to pay bills, never missed a work deadline, and never, ever lost his temper. He was a man built from order and discipline. To most women, that would have been reassuring. To me, it began to feel like suffocation. I had once dreamed of adventure, of nights that bled into mornings, of laughter that echoed through unfamiliar streets. But marriage slowly dimmed those desires. Years passed, and I buried myself in being the dependable wife everyone admired. Only, deep down, I felt invisible, like my wants, my flaws, and even my passions had been filed away in some forgotten drawer. Then came Michael. He wasn't extraordinary, at least not at first glance. He worked at a local nonprofit I occasionally volunteered for. But his presence was different. He listened, really listened, as if every word I said mattered. He laughed at my jokes, asked about my dreams, and remembered details no one else bothered to hold on to. Where Daniel was measured and stoic, Michael was spontaneous and alive. It began innocently, coffee after volunteering, text messages about upcoming events. But soon, those texts slipped into late-night confessions. I told him things I hadn't admitted to anyone, not even myself. I convinced myself it was harmless, that emotional closeness wasn't betrayal. But lines blurred quickly. One rainy evening, after weeks of building tension, I kissed him. That kiss unraveled the tidy structure of my life. The affair lasted months. Each stolen moment carried both exhilaration and guilt. I lived 2 parallel lives, wife at home, lover in secret. And every time I looked at Daniel, guilt carved deeper into me. He was kind, dependable, and undeserving of deceit. My heart twisted between loyalty and longing until the weight of silence became unbearable. I told myself the truth would set me free. I was wrong. I rehearsed the confession for weeks. In the mirror, in the car, even in the quiet of the grocery store aisles. Every version ended with Daniel angry, broken, maybe even yelling. But I told myself he deserved honesty. One Sunday evening, while the smell of roast chicken filled the house, I sat him down at the dining table. My hands trembled so badly I nearly dropped my glass. "There's something I need to tell you," I whispered, my voice cracking under the weight of fear. I confessed everything, how it started, how long it lasted, and why I let myself slip so far. Each word was a dagger I pressed into my own skin, but I kept going, desperate to rip off the bandage and let the wound bleed. When I finished, silence pressed down on the room. Daniel didn't shout. He didn't cry. He didn't even ask questions. He just sat there, his face unreadable, his breathing calm and steady. That silence scared me more than rage ever could. Days passed, and the silence stretched on. He went to work, came home, ate dinner. He didn't touch me, didn't ask me to leave, didn't even bring up my betrayal. It was as if I had confessed to a stranger who had no stake in my life. At first, I thought he was in shock, that anger would come eventually. But as the weeks unfolded, something far more unsettling took root. He began living as though I no longer existed. He stopped looking me in the eye, stopped responding to my small talk, stopped acknowledging my presence beyond necessity. I was a ghost haunting my own marriage. Friends noticed the distance, but I couldn't explain it. The shame was too heavy. I had destroyed the man I loved, yet his response wasn't vengeance. It was erasure. He didn't want to fight. He wanted me invisible. And in some ways, that was worse than fury. The breaking point came late one night. I woke to find Daniel sitting in the living room, staring at old photo albums. Pictures of our wedding day, our first house, vacations filled with sun and laughter. His hands traced the outlines of those moments, but his face remained expressionless. I whispered his name, desperate for any sign of connection. Slowly, he turned toward me, and for the first time in weeks, his eyes met mine. But they were hollow, stripped of warmth. "You already left me," he said quietly. "The moment you gave yourself to him, you left. So now, I'm just waiting for the rest of you to catch up." The words struck harder than any scream. It was final. He wasn't going to rage or beg or even fight for me. He had already let go long before I realized it. I fell to my knees, begging for forgiveness, promising change, swearing I would do anything to rebuild what I had broken. But Daniel only shook his head. "Trust doesn't come back," he said. "You can't unbreak glass once it shatters. You just bleed trying to hold the pieces." And with that, he left the room, leaving me crumpled on the floor, drowning in the silence I had created. In the months that followed, our marriage dissolved quietly. No dramatic fights, no messy court battles. Just paperwork, division of property, and the slow dismantling of a life we had built together. He never raised his voice, never sought revenge. He simply let me go, as if I had already been gone long before. Looking back, I thought honesty would redeem me. But some truths don't set you free. They chain you to the weight of your own choices. I lost a husband who loved me in his own steady way, a home that had sheltered years of memories, and the person I thought I was. The affair ended, of course. Michael was never built for permanence. What felt thrilling in secret turned hollow in daylight. And in the end, I stood alone, betrayer and betrayed all at once. Sometimes the harshest punishment isn't anger or revenge. It's indifference. It's realizing that the person you hurt most simply stopped seeing you as worth the fight. So I ask you, what would you have done in his place? Would you have raged, forgiven, or would you, like Daniel, simply let silence speak louder than any words ever could?